The House will come to order. The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to take House File, the number of which I can't remember. Three. House File 3. I was going to go back to 861 there for a second. House File 3 off the table, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Torkelson moves to take House File 3 from the table. Any discussion? The member... Sorry, non-debatable motion. All those in favor of the motion to remove House File 3 from the table signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The motion prevails. Members, we now have House File 3 before us. Representative Torkelson offers the following motion.
Torkelson moves that the action whereby House File number 3 was given its third reading be now reconsidered.
To that motion, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an oral amendment to the bill to clarify.
We're right now on the motion to reconsider third reading.
I'm having a heck of a time, Mr. Speaker. It must be the lack of sleep. Yes, I'm in favor of the motion to reconsider. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion to reconsider? The member from Hennepin, Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Torkelson.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to reconsider third reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails. We now have House File 3 before us on second reading. The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an oral amendment to the bill. It's on page 105. It is in line 105.31, and the motion would be to reinstate some of the struck language on that line, the struck language that starts with the second word, to pay for light rail transit operations. I would like to reinstate those words.
We'll withdraw it and then we'll offer it.
Representative Torkelson, would you be willing to temporarily withdraw that amendment?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. If it's necessary, I would temporarily withdraw the amendment.
Representative Torkelson withdraws his oral amendment. There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Hornstein moves to amend House File number 3 as follows, and the amendment is coded A3.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein, to your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. There was a similar language in the first transportation bill when it came off the floor, and we did discuss this. But now it's come back. It was not in the conference committee report, thankfully, but now it's reappeared mysteriously. And this is language that exempts railroads from liability in case there is an accident that they cause in a light rail corridor. And to review, members, the reason this is so problematic is that we do have railroads that are hauling hazardous materials, oil, ethanol, other problematic and dangerous substances through these corridors in densely populated areas, particularly in Minneapolis, where there will be co-location of light rail and freight rail. And so we know that railroads are not carrying enough liability insurance for these dangerous products that they're hauling. In Lac-Mégantic, Quebec, in 2013, a freight train had an accident, was carrying that dangerous Bakken oil. 47 people died, over $1 billion of damage. This railroad was not, I think their liability coverage did not exceed $25 million, and it was the public sector and the taxpayers of that community that had to pay nearly $1 billion in damage. And so now we have a similar situation that we are codifying in this bill, which is that these freight rail companies, and it's not just these small Class 3 operators that Representative Torkelson referenced when we first discussed this, but it's the big boys. It's the Burlington Northerns, the Canadian Nationals, the Union Pacifics, the Canadian Pacifics that are now exempt from liability if there's a accident that they cause in a light rail corridor. So we are, in essence, subsidizing some of the largest, most profitable conglomerates that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange with our money in the event of an accident. And so, Mr. Speaker and members, this should be deleted. We don't need to be giving handouts to these large railroads, and they should be responsible in the event of an accident. They're carrying, and they've had accidents. Members, ethanol oil trains have exploded not very far away from here in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So I implore you, Mr. Speaker and members, that we take this language out of the bill. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson, to the amendment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Thank you, Representative Hornstein, for bringing this important issue up, but I'm afraid that your language is a gross exaggeration of the situation. This freight rail system, freight railroad that's been operating in this corridor since 1998 has operated in this corridor with a perfect safety record. They've caused no problems, and in fact, their current operations will be insured just as they always have been. When they're operating as a freight railroad, they will be subject to the same liabilities, insurance requirements, and liability situation that they always have had, and they will continue, in my mind, to, well, I can only base it on their perfect track record, that they have been careful and cautious, and that they will not, there will be no change when they're operating as a freight railroad. But what's happened here, members, is that the Met Council has decided to utilize this same corridor for light rails. So this imposes a situation where this railroad, freight railroad that has been operating very safely, is exposed to a great additional risk. And it seems appropriate to me that this liability situation be incorporated in a way that protects that railroad's business interests at the same time as we protect the public. And in that case, we have a shared liability situation where the light rail will be required to carry, I believe, if I have the number right, I'm going off the top of my head, but they'll be required to carry $295 million of liability insurance, and it will be coupled with the insurance on the freight railroad. The freight railroad will be somewhat limited because this new situation has been imposed upon them. We did very similar thing on the North Star line that runs toward St. Cloud. So the precedent has been set. We're just mirroring that precedent here, where again we have passenger and freight rail in the same corridor. Sure, we can bring up accidents that have happened, but this railroad serves not only my industry, the industry of agriculture, it also serves the sugar industry. It also hauls aggregate. It is important to the financial stability of southwestern Minnesota. And all I'm trying to do in this bill and with this language is assure that they can continue to serve the important industries of the state of Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please vote red on the Hornstein amendment.
The member from Anoka, Representative Runbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to call for a roll call.
Roll call has been requested. Leave your hands up, I guess. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Runbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I think this is an issue we need to talk about and debate, and I appreciate the amendment from Representative Hornstein. I don't believe that there's a very similar situation between this corridor, Southwest Light Rail, and the North Star Commercial. That was only one track. They shared the track, the passenger and the freight, on one track, never at the same time. In the Southwest Light Rail corridor, you have got the passenger and the freight running 10 feet between each other. It's not a great situation, and Met Council has been nothing but stubborn and unrealistic and frankly reckless.
Further discussion on the amendment.
Mr. Speaker.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Runbeck, if you would yield to a question.
Ask again, please.
Mr. Speaker, would Representative Runbeck yield to a question?
She will yield. Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Runbeck, I am so sorry. I was distracted while you were making your argument of, I believe, why you oppose Representative Hornstein's amendment. Could you explain why you oppose the amendment?
Representative Runbeck.
Well, first of all, you have the unique situation of a freight rail line and a passenger rail line operating within 10 feet of each other. One is a train carrying ethanol in many cases. The other is an electrified passenger train that throws off sparks. I think it is a very problematic situation, and I'm not sure that we have handled the issue properly. The best probably result would be, or the best decision would be, to reroute Southwest Light Rail, because the railroad is being forced to do something they don't need to do and shouldn't do, and frankly is not the best route.
Representative Hortman.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I very much apologize because there's really so much going on in this special session that I was not able to hear Representative Hornstein, the major reason that you're offering the amendment. If you'd be willing to yield and explain that.
He will yield. Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Representative Portman. The issue here is that we have railroads that are carrying dangerous materials in close proximity to light rail trains, and if they cause an accident in that corridor, they would be absolved from liability. And so I talked, Mr. Speaker and Representative Portman, about an incident in Canada where there was major loss of life and damage, and because the railroad was also had similar liability caps, it was the taxpayers and the citizens of that region that had to pay for the damages, and I want to avoid that happening here.
Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hornstein, I wonder if you are familiar if this language that you're trying to delete is language that has been previously used by the state of Minnesota when we are completing a light rail project in close proximity to freight rail. If he would yield, Mr. Speaker.
He will yield. Representative Hornstein.
Mr. Speaker and Representative Portman, I'm glad you asked that question because when Representative Torkelson talked about the North Star, this is an apples and oranges comparison. There is a liability cap there, and I, by the way, disagree with that. But there is a liability cap on trains that are essentially using the same track. So you don't have the same frequency on North Star as we're going to have at Southwest. So that's in place, but there's something also in your question that I want the body to be aware of. A lot of this language is new. The language related to the FAST Act that Representative Torkelson referenced, some of the liability requirements for the Met Council, this was never vetted. We never heard most of this section in a committee. We never heard it in a conference committee. This just appeared. And I think it's actually, I had to read it several times and make a few calls to fully understand it. And that's part of the problem we have, members. We have lots of examples of where language that's quite complex and technical is suddenly appearing in these bills without any proper vetting. And here's another example of that.
Representative Hortman.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And, we're in this unusual situation, Representative Hornstein, of the 1 or 2% of situations where you and I disagree on a topic. Those are very few. But the reason I asked about whether this language had been used in the past is because, as you may recall, in my early years in the legislature, my primary focus was on getting North Star commuter rail completed and working closely with Anoka County and the North Star Corridor Development Authority to get the language we needed in order to get an agreement with Burlington Northern so that we could do the North Star commuter rail operations. And my understanding at the time was the reason we agreed to this type of language was that we could not get permission from the freight rail Burlington Northern to operate the commuter rail in that space unless they had this liability exemption. And so I'm wondering if Representative Hornstein would yield, do you have any concern that if we don't enter into an agreement like this where we limit liability, that it actually prevents the completion of the project?
Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Representative Portman. Yes, it is an unusual situation when we disagree. But this language just came out of nowhere. It came suddenly. We know that the Senate had concerns. The Senate did not include this. There was no public discussion, no dialogue about it. And so it's the process that I'm very concerned about. And no one has said definitively to me or anyone else who has concerns about this. I know Senator Dibble shares my concerns over in the Senate, that this would somehow imperil or impede or the project couldn't move forward. So that's new information. And finally, I would just argue that when we talked about North Star, we didn't have these 100-unit oil trains that were exploding left and right around the country. And so the situation has changed. It's an apples and oranges comparison.
Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Hornstein, I completely respect your passion on the issue of oil train safety and also your passion on the issue of transit. And I think the difficult thing in this situation is those values that you hold, I think, are competing. And I would want just another question for you, Representative Hornstein, because we both represent Hennepin County. I wonder if you have had a conversation with Hennepin County about your amendment and how they feel about your amendment. If he would yield, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, no, I have...
Representative Hornstein.
Mr. Speaker and Representative Hortman, I have spoken publicly and assertively about this issue since early April when it first surfaced in the Transportation Committee. I did a similar amendment on the floor. I have not heard anything from the Met Council or Hennepin County that would indicate to me that they were opposed to what I was doing.
Representative Hortman.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I appreciate the conversation, and I'm sorry I missed on the early portion of the debate to have a full understanding of what it is we're talking about. And I respectfully disagree on this rare occasion with my colleague, Representative Hornstein.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And would Representative Torkelson yield? Mr. Speaker?
He will yield. Representative Mahoney.
Thank you. I don't do much on transportation. I spent a couple years there. I have had some work here at the Capitol on insurance. My concern is that the oil trains go through my district quite a bit. They pass by 3 playgrounds, 4 elementary schools, more than 1 or 2 churches, all within 100 yards of the rail line. And right next to where that rail line is part of a transit line that is in the planning stages. So my concern is with this language in the bill, just in the bill, not to the amendment, could you tell me 2 things? What's the liability that they have to carry when they are running through a densely populated city with that kind of oil on a train line? And how would, well, I'll start with that particular question. What's the kind of liability they have to carry when they're running oil trains through an area that has a population of 10 to 12,000 people, most of them moderate income, and really not quite that aware of what the dangers are where they're living?
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Mahoney. As you know, as well as I do, railroads are federally regulated entities. They are common carriers. They have to carry whatever people ask them to carry. As far as the insurance goes, I am not personally aware of exactly what those limits are, but again, those are federally regulated situations. The federal government determines exactly what railroads are required to do.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Joachim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I have to apologize to Representative Hornstein. I too disagree with taking this language out of the bill. Will Representative Torkelson yield to another question?
He will yield. Representative Joachim.
Representative Torkelson, we've been here a long time, and I'm trying to bring back the memories from committee when we had the small carriers come in and talk about why they needed this language, and they had some pretty poignant testimony. If you could maybe help me jog my memory about why some of the reasons they do need this language.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative. I don't think I can repeat the exact testimony, of course, but this is a small railroad that serves a part of the Minnesota where railroads could well disappear if we don't continue to support these short line railroads. And we have short line railroads, many of them all over the state, that we are trying to support and make sure they can continue to operate. There's one in Hugo, there's other examples all around the state. Certainly, I can't say that railroads operate with zero risk. We know that's not the case. But we live in a society where we manage some of our risk through insurance and by managing how liability is shared depending on the situation. In this situation, the liability here is being changed by the fact that light rail is coming into the corridor. And really all this fine company is asking for is that this change in their liability situation is now properly shared with the light rail. And the light rail that's coming is required to carry adequate insurance.
Representative Joachim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Torkelson, for helping jog my memory. What you have to understand about this bill is this only changes or caps the liability within the guideway. If any of the surrounding homes were damaged by freight blowing up, like Representative Hornstein was saying, it would still fall under what current law does and what the current insurance and liability is. This is just because, like Representative Torkelson said, these freight are operating the lines. We are inserting light rail next to them. It's safe, otherwise we wouldn't be able to do it. But the freight, if something untold does happen by some chance of fate, freight companies shouldn't be responsible for the extra people added into that guideway because of light rail. That liability should be shared, and that's all this language does. So please, I would ask you to vote against Representative Hornstein's amendment.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hertos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and would Representative Hornstein yield for a question, please?
He will yield. Representative Hertos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hornstein, I know you've been following this and have a good deal of passion about this. With regard to the sweet crude and the unit oil trains you're talking about, what have you learned with regard to the blast area or blast factor if there should be a tragedy? What is an appropriate amount of space that would be an adequate buffer to protect people?
Representative Hornstein.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and Representative Hertos. Actually, in our 2014 legislation, the the legislature directed MnDOT to do a study about the issue that you're talking about. And we found in that study, MnDOT actually defined about a half mile, and we have over something like, I don't have the exact number, but it's over 200,000 Minnesotans live within a half mile of these unit oil train routes, and that doesn't include some of the other substances like ethanol. So in the study, MnDOT defined it as a half mile.
Representative Hertaus.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And if Representative Hornstein would yield for another question.
He will yield. Representative Hertaus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Representative Hornstein, I think what you're saying, based on that information, is it's probably not a good idea to co-locate commuter rail in a freight rail corridor. Would you agree with that assessment?
Representative Hertaus. Excuse me, Representative Hornstein.
Mr. Speaker and Representative Hertaus, well, commuter rail such as North Star, I think you mentioned commuter rail, I have concerns about that, but they're running on the same track and they're not running as frequently as the light rail trains. So while I have concerns about commuter rail, as I mentioned before, that's an apples and oranges comparison to what we're talking about.
Representative Hertaus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and if Rep. Hornstein would continue to yield.
He will yield. Representative Hertaus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hornstein, I guess I erroneously referred to commuter rail, but I did mean light rail, and I'm particularly concerned about this project in which you're expressing concern about. It appears that there is a litigation right now. The Lakes and Parks Alliance lawsuit is still pending, and we're talking about a proposed plan from the Met Council to coexist light rail in a freight rail corridor, and I would respectfully ask your opinion about whether or not that is good planning.
Representative Hornstein.
Mr. Speaker and Representative Hertaus, when this was first proposed, to refresh folks' memory, there was no co-location until 2013. And I vigorously opposed that then. I have concerns about it now. There was a process that the Met Council went through to reassess. I and others in our community demanded that another study be done. That study actually did conclude that not co-locating freight rail and light rail was feasible. And I was very disappointed that some of those recommendations were not followed.
Representative Hertaus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and one last question, if he would continue to yield.
He will yield. Representative Hertaus.
Well, okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker and Representative Hornstein. I guess I'm wondering then, with regard to the proposal of this Met Council plan to coexist or co-locate light rail in this freight corridor, it would seem then that your amendment to prohibit that language in the bill, not having liability on there, certainly would impede the ability for the light rail to be built in that area. Are you aware of the Met Council being prepared to assume risk or liability if the language were left in the bill, that for injury or damage to people, death, bodily harm for light rail being in the same corridor? I mean, I'm wondering if there's any indemnification in the cost to the taxpayer by proposing and continuing to propose LRT in the freight rail corridor.
Representative Hornstein.
Mr. Speaker and Representative Hertaus, there is some of that new language that I had referenced earlier. This is the first that I've seen it, and that relates to additional liability protections under the FAST Act. The Federal FAST Act, I believe, is referenced here for the Met Council. But the problem is, so that actually is potentially, again, this has not been vetted. I would certainly like to hear more from the community and experts and the agencies. This is potentially a helpful thing, but the problem is that the language, on particularly lines 15 through 21 on page 107, that absolves the freight company, and in my understanding, in my reading of that. And so that's the language that I'm most concerned about. And that's why I'm moving forward on this amendment.
Representative Hertaus.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I think this has been a good debate because we've clearly are demonstrating and showing now, and we've had this conversation in the public arena, that it's really a dumb idea to be planning a light rail transit corridor in a freight rail corridor 10 feet away from where there is potential harm and injury. Regardless of who's liable, regardless of what damages can be awarded to any plaintiff in a circumstance like that, it's still a dumb idea. No money in the world can replace somebody's life. And so we are really talking about an argument here why this proposed insistence on this particular corridor to proceed under the current plan is just horribly, horribly irresponsible. We need to do something about this. Thank you.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein.
Well, thank you, members, and thank you for this conversation. I would also reference House File 2468. I got House File 2468, which I hope the body appreciates. But that actually addresses some of the issues that you're talking about. I introduced that, I believe, in April in the session, and it relates to co-location. But members, I kind of see where this is going. We have a recorded vote on this already. I would hope maybe that we could withdraw the roll call because it appears to me that it's we're not going to be successful on this. So I would request of the body that we not do a roll call on this.
The member from Anoka, Representative Runbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Speaker, I did want to clarify that I do support the Hornstein amendment. The issues, the very thorny, difficult issues surrounding this very spot on the Southwest Light Rail Corridor is the basis and part of the basis of a pending lawsuit. I think if we decide the issue here as to what is going to make it better, easier for Southwest Light Rail to be built, and for Met Council's mistakes in the routing to be sort of papered over by a decision like this to absolve them of liability is absolutely wrong. And I do support Representative Hornstein, and I will not lift the roll call if that is the proper motion.
Representative Hornstein.
Well then, Mr. Speaker, in that case, I'd withdraw the amendment.
Hornstein withdraws the A3 amendment. There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Torkelson moves to amend House File Number 3 as follows. The amendment is coded A7.
Call upon the member from Brown, Representative Torkelson, to explain his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This deals a little more completely with where we started this conversation to delete a few words in the bill. This part of the bill relates to the fact that in this bill we have agreed that the state of Minnesota will no longer be responsible for any operating costs for the Southwest Light Rail that may or may not be built, and 100% of those operating costs will be carried by non-state entities. And this, by changing this language, we make that absolutely crystal clear that this language applies only to the Southwest Light Rail. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I urge a green vote on my amendment.
Discussion to the amendment. Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to know if we could pause for a minute until we get the amendment.
Members, the A7 amendment is being distributed to your desks. We'll hold further discussion until that has been completed.
Members, discussion to the A7 amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the A7 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I will try to be brief as we address the heart of this bill. I know we're all a little bit tired and wearing down, but I do need to cover some highlights. First, I would just like to say that the vote for this bill is a vote for the largest, most robust transportation bill in the history of the state of Minnesota. We will authorize approximately $6 billion of transportation spending with this bill, and we're able to do that without raising any taxes. This is a testament to the state of Minnesota and to the health of our economy, and I look forward to the passage of this bill. A number of issues, before I go on, I really also need to mention that the situation with transit has changed quite dramatically. At the wish of the governor, we have boosted the amount of money going to Met Council, which will cover our bus system here in Minnesota, to $70 million of additional spending above their base. So this should remove any conversation about any need to cut any bus lines here in the metro area, and people that depend on those buses to get to work and to school, we can look forward to them being there and doing the work that they do to get them where they need to go. We do have some questions about Met Council, how it operates. We had some proposed language in the bill last time around that would have made some changes to Met Council's governance structure. That actually has been removed from the bill at this time at the request of the governor, but the need to continue to evaluate how Met Council operates, how they are governed, really is a very important topic that we all should be interested in. When an unelected body has this much power in a metropolitan area, there is really some questions that need to be asked and answered, and we will be continuing to have that conversation at least as long as I'm chair of transportation. I will quickly review some of the changes that were made since this bill left the floor last time and was vetoed by the governor. Our original target was $372 million. It's now $300 million. And we've also had some cuts to the base of about $120 million. As I mentioned, we have $70 million going to Met Council. That's a $20 million increase. Metropolitan counties still will continue to get the $10 million allocation for metro county roads. We did make a small adjustment to the amount going to small cities. Our original position of the Senate was $10 million. Our original position was $25. We'd agreed at $20 in the last bill, but because of the cuts, we had to reduce that to $16 million. That's still more than the small cities got in the last biennium. In order to accommodate some of the other reductions in the bill, we have moved a few items from this bill to the bonding bill, and those would include the Safe Routes to School program. For $1 million, $2.5 million of the Minnesota Rail Service Improvement Program, and $6 million that goes to rail safety in relation to hazardous materials. Those items are moving to the bonding bill. Going on, we have reinstated a couple of programs that were also important to the governor. The Rail Safety Office at the Minnesota Department of Transportation is being reinstated, as is the Rail Passenger Office. There is a $1 million grant in this bill for the city of Grand Rapids to do a freight rail study. There are also some policy changes in the bill. As we've talked about regarding the amendment that the state will not be paying the 50% share of operating costs should Southwest Light Rail be built. We've already talked quite extensively about freight railroad liability situation that is in the bill. There are two truck weight provisions in the bill. One for, I take that back. There's only one because Representative Drazkowski's milk truck weight bill got signed, so we were able to remove that language from the bill. Now the only truck weight language, there are two provisions. One truck weight provision is for road construction material for overweight trucks, and then there's a special truck situation up on the Iron Range where there's a individual business that hauls the very large tires that are used in the iron mines, and they have a special permit available to them. There is a prohibition in the bill for the use of certificates of participation by the Metropolitan Council. However, that restriction has been narrowed so it only applies when they would be trying to borrow money for an LRT project. There are no changes as far as the service area for the opt-outs. There was some potential language in the bill as it left last time that would have opened a window for new opt-outs, but that is now no longer in the bill. I did mention already the Met Council governance reform changes have been removed from the bill. With that, Mr. Speaker, I think I would stand for questions. One more item I should mention, the VW Clean Air Act language that was in the bill has been removed.
The member from Blue Earth, Representative Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will Representative Torkelson yield for a question?
He will yield. Representative Considine.
Representative Torkelson, could you briefly touch on what the 5- and 10-year plans are for going ahead in transportation?
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Considine. Those long-range plans are in the hands of the Minnesota Department of Transportation. And I'm going to forget the acronyms right now, but they have one plan, the 5-year plan, that really, those projects that are on the 5-year plan are the projects that are most ready to go and most likely to go, in fact, are kind of in the pipeline. Those projects that are in their 10-year plan are projects that are being vetted but aren't yet quite to the point where they feel that they can move forward quickly, so they have them on the 10-year list. I believe they also have a 20-year plan that is even sketchier, not sketchier, I shouldn't say sketchier, but includes projects that are still in the early planning stages. Thank you, Representative Considine.
Representative Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess I was more specifically wondering about funding and what the legislature's, the Transportation Committee's commitment to those are.
Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and Representative Considine. As I mentioned earlier, funding authorized in this bill is over $6 billion in the next biennium. That includes a number of different issue areas. The State Airports Fund actually has a $56 million expenditure in here, much of that going to Duluth and Rochester and St. Cloud. The County State Aid Highway Fund gets about $1.5 billion. The Municipal State Aid Street Fund gets about $400,000. The Highway User Tax Distribution Fund, which funds our trunk highways, gets nearly $4 billion in the next biennium. That is a substantial commitment to transportation projects all across the state of Minnesota.
The member from Anoka, Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Torkelson yield to a question?
He will yield. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Torkelson, could you, I'm really not clear on what the A7 does. Could you walk us through that in more detail? I see that we're deleting some new language on page 105, page 30, on line 31, but the only new language there is the word "for" on line 31. So I'm just confused about what maybe this bill or this amendment does. Thank you.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you. That deletion, I believe, carries forward onto page 106 where it deletes language on 106 also. I think I slipped my copy in the trash can, Mr. Speaker. I'll see if I can retrieve it. I did retrieve it. All of this language, this section of the bill, again, relates to our agreement with the governor that the state of Minnesota will no longer be responsible for any of the operating costs on the Southwest Light Rail. That was a hard-fought agreement, as many of you know, that we will continue to meet our commitments on the currently operating Green Line and Blue Line, but the state of Minnesota will not be responsible for any operating costs on Southwest Light Rail. Where the question becomes a little bit, I shouldn't say difficult, I would say where the language seemed to be a little bit unclear was what was happening if there would be other light rail lines built beyond the Southwest Light Rail. Bottineau is one that's being considered, Riverview is being considered, and the removal of this language makes it clear that that the state will consider those as new projects. The agreement was not to ban funding on those, but to consider them in the future. So the agreement with the governor's office was that we will not fund operating on Southwest Light Rail, and this language change makes that, as I understand it, crystal clear.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And would Representative Torkelson yield to another question?
He will yield. Representative Scott.
Thank you. Representative Torkelson, how much is the estimated operating and maintenance costs of Southwest Light Rail that the state would otherwise be obligated to pay if it weren't for this language?
Thank you,
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Scott. Off the top of my head, I believe it's about $30 million a year, if I remember right. I'm sorry, a biennium. I had got too many years, not enough years in there. About $30 million a biennium. The two lines that are operating currently, I think we're responsible for approximately $50 million a biennium on the green and blue lines. So these, as you know, are very expensive to continue to operate, and that's why many of us are interested in getting the state out of the business of operating light rail.
The member from Nicollet, Representative Johnson C.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I want to shift the focus to roads, and particularly roads in rural Minnesota. I think it's well established that roads and bridges are critical infrastructure for the economic development of greater Minnesota, which has been a topic of this session. And I have some real challenges and questions about the approach that's taken in this bill. Historically, Minnesota has used the gas tax and then added on license tax fees and sales tax on auto vehicles through constitutionally dedicated funds for roads. And the reason that's valuable is that you know it's coming. It's the most dependable money. And that you can look around us, and state after state, many states have raised the gas tax. Many states with Republican legislatures and Republican governors have chosen to do that. And they've wisely chosen that because it's just sound conservative fiscal policy. It's the kind of investment that can assure that the funding is available for this critical infrastructure. The Republicans in the Minnesota House have chosen a different tack, and that is to use the general fund as really basically two sources to fund roads going forward. The increase in funding for roads, and that is the general fund and borrowing. And I want to talk about those a little bit. I really do. I think this session has demonstrated how the general fund is just not a dependable funding source for roads. And remember, these are long-term investments where there has to be planning. It takes a multiple-year plan to do that. And so those who are building the roads need to have that time to make that planning. And just in the short time since the first House Omnibus bill came through, we've seen a decrease in that general fund commitment. That dependability has diminished significantly. The first bill that came across this House, I believe, was contributing for $450 million in the biennium from the general fund for roads. Then that diminished in the conference report to $322 million over the biennium. And now in this bill, it's down to $230 million in the biennium. And I suppose if we were here for another week or two, it'd get down to about 115 or about 100. That's the problem with this system, because we're asking Minnesota to say, let's let roads compete with things like nursing homes, paying for schools, and that sort of thing. And what really comes to my mind is that I don't believe we're going to be able to provide a raise for most of the personal care attendants in Minnesota. So one way to say was, instead of doing a raise for personal care attendants in Minnesota, we're choosing to use that money that could have been used for that raise that's dramatically needed, certainly in rural Minnesota, to build roads. That's the choice that's being made. My Republican colleagues think that's a good choice. I don't. And so I think that's a problem in terms of the competition and the dependability. The other source is borrowing, and you can see that in the bill. And it's borrowing. Now, this is where I have a real problem, and this is where sometimes I think that I'm a more conservative guy than those who have authored this bill, because I was raised in a situation where you try not to borrow money. And if you do borrow money, you know that you can pay it back. In this case, the choice has been made to borrow at this time for roads that going in the future, but really without a way to pay it back. If there is a deficit going forward, and let's remember, folks, that we've had a fairly major tax cut. We don't know what the economy will be doing. Prior to 2013, deficit after deficit after deficit. Let's not forget that this happens in Minnesota. Let's say going forward we have a deficit and we've borrowed this money to build roads. Well, how do we pay it back? Do we dip into the general fund to pay that back? That would be one source. Another source would be to use the trunk highway fund, which would raise the possibility that in future years we may be spending less money on roads than we were spending last year. I think for me, that's a risky proposition. I don't know if it's reckless, but it certainly is risky. The other thing that concerns me about this is that Corridors of Commerce is a road that is a program that was really developed, and we in rural Minnesota saw a lot of hope with the Corridors of Commerce program as a way to connect regional centers with four-lane highways, better highways. And certainly in my region of the state, but all over the state, there's some hope to do that. I think if you look at the economic performance in greater Minnesota, you find that our regional centers are core centers where we have some opportunity for excellent jobs, where people can commute in to get those jobs. And infrastructure for regional centers like that is extremely valuable, especially for the kind of high-paying jobs that we really need out in the countryside. There's two problems with this bill with respect to Corridors of Commerce. The only source of funding that we've had both in this bill and then in 2013 is borrowing to pay for the Corridors of Commerce. This bill chooses to also borrow for the standard program. And if we're borrowing for the standard program going forward, will we have the opportunity, will we have the capacity to borrow for Corridors of Commerce? It's hard to see that. It's very hard to see that. And the number of projects out there that need to be done are very significant. And I just don't see I don't see that pathway in my provincial way. I don't see the pathway of completing a four-lane highway to New Ulm as a result. There's a second factor in this bill that argues the same. And that is the language as to how the project selection process is done for Corridors of Commerce has changed in this bill. I mentioned this before, and I thought the language has changed, but it didn't, and I'm disappointed by that. Because the Department of Transportation has determined that really, if we're going to go with the language in this bill, cities like New Ulm, Hutchinson, and cities of that ilk will be at a competitive disadvantage. And I think if you look at the OLA report, which was really the basis for this change, if you look at the projects that were evaluated back in 2013, you'll find that almost all of the money that received high rankings on the return to investment were in the metropolitan area. 438 million of those projects were in the metropolitan area that received a high or a medium ranking. Only 97.7 were in rural Minnesota. This is more similar to the criteria if we have the narrow criteria here. And of that 97.7, 51.5 million of that would be on the St. Michael Rogers run, which Where I live, that feels very much like a metropolitan area. It's not technically in the metro district. So really what you're saying, what the reality of this is, and I think rural Minnesota needs to know this, and rural members, I think you need to think about this going forward. If you represent a city that is hopeful of having a 4-lane expansion to connect to another regional corridor, you have to tell your mayor of that city that it's unlikely in this case with this change in these criteria. I think it's a step backwards. I think it diminishes significantly the hope that Minnesota had when Representative Hornstein put into the transportation bill in 2013 the Corridors of Commerce program, and I just fundamentally think it's a mistake. Dependable funding that is done in a conservative way is a way to really make sure that we can have the infrastructure we need. If we're going to grow jobs, if we're going to grow especially the good jobs in rural Minnesota, if we're going to move farm to market our product on those township roads, those county roads, we need dependable funding. And we have heard that consistently over the last 4 years that I've been in the legislature from counties, townships, contractors, unions, all kinds of organizations that really say we need new constitutionally dedicated funding. There's not a nickel for that. I've been advocating for a number of years, recognizing that, okay, the Republicans have the majority in the legislature, use the general fund. I might not like it, but give us some real constitutionally dedicated funding. There's none of that in this bill, and it's a gaping hole in this bill for the future of economic development in rural Minnesota.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Hausman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I wanted to say just a word about public mass transit and intercity passenger rail. For some strange reason, Minnesota is out of touch with the whole rest of the country, all the major cities, but also with all of our economic competitors in the Midwest. Kansas City, St. Louis, Denver, everyone is moving ahead robust systems of public mass transit and intercity passenger rail. In states with Republican governors and Republican legislatures, they get this. They get that transportation alternatives are part of what our citizens are looking for. Whether they're young people burdened with college debt or just not wanting the burden of a car, or those who are older and wish they didn't have to drive anymore. There are people all over the state who want those alternatives. The interesting thing is, from north to south, cities want to be connected. Duluth, St. Cloud, Wake Park, Red Wing, Winona, Northfield, Mankato, Rochester, all over the state, people understand the need for transportation alternatives and they want more of it and not less. In the city, we depend on it to a greater extent than anywhere. This is, I've said many times, this urban core is the economic engine of the state. Most of the taxes are generated here and then they go all over the state to do good things, and we're happy about that. We think that's a good thing. We all do better when we all do better. But that also means the taxpayers in this urban core also deserve some partnership with that state spending. And that's what happens when the state helps with public mass transit systems that serve our workers and that provide opportunities for intercity passenger rail that give alternatives to Minnesota citizens. We're out of step. Eventually, this is going to have an impact on our economic competitiveness. And I hope we just continue to have the broader conversation and that the citizens of Minnesota and the business community particularly, which has begun to step up, are part of that vigorous debate. This bill doesn't do it. I hope we don't give up.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Joachim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will Representative Koznick yield for a question? Is he on the floor? Representative Koznick?
He will yield. Representative Joachim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm just trying to remember, I know we heard this bill in transportation and regional governance policy, and I appreciate the study on, Representative Koznick carried a bill to study metro mobility. We know there's been rising costs, and it's really hitting the Met Council budget pretty hard. It's a required mandate, and it should be, to transport some of our most vulnerable members of our society. But I think the language changed a little bit after it left committee. I just wanted to ask Representative Kosnick to maybe tell me what the definition of interested taxi service provider is, one of the members of the task force is.
The member from Dakota, Representative Kosnick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, the language that's in there was slightly amended from the original bill hearing at the governor's request and with the Met Council. The main point that I think that's important to know is that this is a huge deficit area for the Met Council, and they also recognized the need to get a rein on their cost in there, and so that's why the language has changed. Thank you.
Representative Joachim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Kosnick. Thank you for explaining that. I still have little concerns to have somebody on the task force that may be benefiting and bidding on a contract. So that's a little bit concerning to me. But otherwise, I just wanted to make some comments. I'm sorry, but I really thought we were going to do something for transportation this year that was substantial. Hoping for a 10-year plan. We've talked about it for over 10 years now. And I got my hopes up, and maybe that's my fault, but I'm really disappointed. And we can wax and wane all we want about this bill, but it will not change the fact that it's only a 2-year transportation bill. It relies on transferring money from the general fund, and it racks up the credit card. And while you do give Met Council a one-time $70 million, it doesn't go anywhere near, it doesn't go into the biennium, the next biennium, and they end up with a gaping hole in their budget of over $100 million. That will lead to massive transit cuts, like we saw in the bill when it originally left the House floor. Now, I'm thankful that you removed the provisions that stripped local control away from spending money to even consider expanding light rail. I know that was done in the last conference committee. And I really do appreciate, that. But light rail is a regional project, and it should be funded that way. And this bill doesn't do that. Hiawatha and Central Line, Hiawatha and the Green Line, both were built with bonding money and state money, and we've seen how successful they are. They're successful, and I'm confident that any extension of those lines will be too. And I think it's really short-sighted that with the language that's in this bill, that really wasn't thoroughly vetted in committee and had some problems that we had to fix on the floor today, has one county bearing all the costs. This is a regional project that everybody will benefit from, with economic development, moving people to jobs. All of the light rail lines were built with state money, operated with state money, but for some reason you carve out just one that can't do that anymore. And I really have concerns about that, and really have concerns about what that means for the future of our lines. And we did try to, I want to thank Representative Torkelson so much for fixing the language on the floor so it just meant Southwest Light Rail, because we were concerned about future ones, and I really do appreciate that. But that just kind of shows how flawed this special session process has been, that these bills were thrown together at the last minute, negotiations, handshake deals before language was seen, worries, calls, what was in, what's not in, this was supposed to be in, you got to fix this. That's just not a great way to do business. And folks, let's just not be fooled here today. This is a 2-year transportation bill. This isn't what our business community was asking for. They wanted more. Contractors wanted more. But it's kind of what we got. But as long as we know that's what we got, let's just not put lipstick on a pig and say what it is. Because you know, in 2 years, we're going to be back here again, scrambling for more money for roads and bridges and transit, and I really do think Minnesotans deserve better than that.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Carlson L.
Mr. Speaker, I want to comment a little bit about the past and the future as far as this bill is concerned. In the past, we attempted to transfer cab fees into the transportation fund. And then we would run into fiscal difficulty, and we delay the transfer. And so the point that Representative Johnson was making about consistent funding is a very important one. So when you look at what happened then, it wasn't until we finally put a constitutional amendment on the ballot that transferred those funds to the transportation budget. So when we talk about the future, I said I want to look a little bit to the past. That's what happened. It put transportation on the rocky road for several biennium. When we look to the future, and I've raised this question before, and I serve with Representative Knobloch on the Council of Economic Advisors as observers. We're there by statute, both representing the majority and the minority parties. And the council, and you've heard me say this before on other budget bills, is very concerned about, in this upcoming biennium, the third and fourth quarters. Because we've had such a long period of prosperity, they're concerned that there will be a downturn. If it doesn't come in the third and fourth quarters of this biennium, it'll probably in all likely hit at the beginning of the following biennium. And with the commitment here, and I know Representative Torkelson indicated that in the future he was talking about $6 billion being available for transportation. And my point is that that's a very risky number in terms of, again, looking at what our past history has been when we try to use the general fund for transportation. So members, I would be very cautious about that. The other thing I would point out is that the February forecast said that there was a 25% probability of a downturn. By the March forecast, they said it was 30%. My point is that's growing, and it kind of fits into that third and fourth year of the, or third and fourth quarter of the next biennium. So I do have concerns about this approach, and my other concern is that when push comes to shove, then it'll put transportation funding in competition with education, higher education, health and human services. You can go right down the list of very important other state obligations that will be in competition for those dollars. So there is a better approach. Unfortunately, it's not before us here today for transportation funding, but I just want to remind people that we're on a risky road.
The member from Pine, Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. There's two things that really trouble me in the transportation bill. It's the source of the numbers, the source of funding that we're rating from the general fund. $300 million in the first biennium, and then goes up to $450 million in the second. I've talked to a number of the chambers of commerce in my area, and they're all in favor of a gas tax. Evidently, the state chamber of commerce is opposed to it. That's why they marched some of their minions into your offices and sold this package of goods. You know, we should have the discussion on how to spend this money, and we always do. But the true problem here is where that money comes from. When you start robbing the other programs that we're charged with financing for the people of the state of Minnesota. I've got some troubling emails in the last few weeks about how we preserve the way of life of people called welfare queens. And the social nets that we put up to save people in Minnesota from poverty and illness, they're very important. And let's put a face on it. Let's define what a welfare queen is. Everybody's heard that. I think it's a very derogatory term, and I'm ashamed to even be standing here saying it. But a good friend of mine went to a training for county commissioners, and they lined out what a welfare queen is. The definition of a welfare queen is an 83-year-old woman in a nursing home. That's where the money goes. That's what our social safety nets provide for. So we'd like to think it's something else, and there's plenty of anecdotal evidence or stories that we could bring up and tell stories about another definition of welfare queen, but I'm not going to do that. This transportation funding package raids education. It raids our social safety nets. It raids every other responsibility that we're charged with providing for the people of Minnesota. This is such a divisive way of doing things. At the end of the day, is Minnesota better off? I don't believe so. Possibly for the roads, but not for the rest of the Minnesota services, especially the grandmas we call welfare queens.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and if Representative Torkelson would yield to a couple of questions.
He will yield. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Torkelson, if you could go through what vehicle truck weight changes that you make in the bill and what types of products they're exempted from, and then if you could also clarify of whether the local unit of government has any control on that or what their role is.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try to make this brief. First, starting with the local control issue, that was a change since this bill was vetoed. We now have local permits involved in the bill. So, if for these construction material hauling trucks, if they want to get a permit if they want to get a permit, they have to get both a state permit to haul on a state road and a local permit to haul on a county road. So that was a change that we were encouraged to make, and we did make in this bill. The truck weight changes are restricted to road construction materials, and we're going from 90,000-pound trucks to 99,000-pound trucks for those permitted situations, and there's other details in there, but we're going to heavier trucks to haul road construction materials.
I will remind our guests to please refrain from disturbing the House floor proceedings. No public outbursts are allowed in the House chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We already have a number of situations where trucks are allowed in certain circumstances to haul heavier weights. I'm a farmer by trade. I can haul heavier weights in my truck when I'm hauling from my field to my farm. And there are other situations.
Representative Torkelson, if we could.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have another situation in this bill where we're allowing emergency vehicles to run overweight. As I described earlier, Representative Drazkowski's bill that passed and was signed by the governor allows milk trucks to haul heavier weights. The effect of this change for road construction materials is quite dramatic. For road construction projects where we're hauling a lot of material, this will save anywhere from 3 to 5% of the cost of a project. This is significant. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars of state spending that will utilize those dollars more efficiently, and we'll get more road miles for the dollars that we invest in road construction. The effect is quite dramatic. Of course, these trucks have to have the right number of axles to protect the roads, and they have to have the permit required.
Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and if Representative Torkelson will again yield to a question.
He will yield. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Torkelson. So if you have to get a state permit and a local permit, do they have to be issued, or does the local unit of government have the ability to say, no, you can't do it? Or what is the purpose of having two different permits if the jurisdiction who is giving the second permit has no authority to say yes or no and must issue?
Representative Torkelson.
I'm not a permit expert, Representative, I believe that the local authority gives the permit for specific roads, and they can control which roads these trucks will run on. And if they choose to deny the permit, then those trucks cannot run on those local roads.
Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just one final question. Representative Torkelson, I believe that if you would continue to yield, I believe that tires have now been added, and I had not previously seen tires as part of the mix. Can you tell me how tires ended up in the bill, where it came from, and if anyone is in favor, or if anyone spoke in favor of tires being added, or spoke in opposition, or did that provision never receive a public hearing?
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative. This is a Senate provision that came in, and it deals with one specific business on the Iron Range. This trucking business has been hauling these very large tires that are used in the mining industry. He's been hauling them for, according to the author, for 60 years. He has highly specialized equipment where he has the truck unit itself has a crane, a big crane that's able to lift these tires on and off his truck, and he pulls a trailer behind that that carries 4 more of these very large tires. We have very carefully restricted the area where he can operate. It's restricted to the iron mine area where he's working. The language restricts him from operating on the interstate highways. We believe we've gotten this narrowed down. And there's also a weight limit. He can go overweight, but he can't go unlimited amount overweight. I believe the axle weight mentioned in the bill is right around 24,000 pounds per axle, where the standard weight is 20,000 pounds per axle.
Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for Representative Torkelson. I just want to make sure I'm really clear. So the tire provision is related to one particular entity, and we will not be seeing that anywhere else except there.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's only one entity that is doing this today. I suppose if another company got in the business of hiring these very large tires and they haul them in the same area that this trucker is, that they could also qualify. I would guess it's a very limited market. I don't think there's an unlimited amount of these very large tires that need to be moved around the Iron Range.
The member from St. Louis, Representative Metza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Representative Hillstrom. That response from Representative Torkelson did accurately depict that. It's one business who has been doing this, I believe, under an exemption currently, and we're clarifying it in law.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. We're all tired, but this is a really, really important subject. Representative Torkelson, would you yield for a question, please?
He will yield. Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The $70 million going to the Met Council, is that $70 million per year over the biennium?
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is $70 million over the biennium, and it's divided $30 million the first year, $40 million the second year, and we believe it covers their needs. You may also know that the Metropolitan Council is in the process of considering a rate hike. They haven't raised their rates since, I believe, 1998 or 08. I'm not sure about that. It's been a longer time since they've raised their rates than any other metropolitan area, and they're due for a rate hike, and that will generate approximately $15 million in the biennium.
Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Torkelson, continue to yield.
He will yield. Representative Rosenthal.
Representative Torkelson, that's great. Thank you. We need to have Metro Transit. What happens in the 2 years after the $70 million?
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The agreement we reached did not carry that $70 million into the tails. Their MFES revenues continue to increase as those projections rise, and of course we will be addressing transit issues in the next transportation bill, in the next biennium, and I look forward to it.
Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Metro Transit's okay this biennium or next biennium, but then we drop off a cliff and we get back to those 40%, 30% cuts to Metro Transit. These are buses. These are how people get to work. This is how businesses get their goods to market. This is very, very short-sighted and very, very detrimental to my community and many communities that are really economic drivers of the state. The attack on Southwest Light Rail, you know, you've heard me talk about it before. We have 80,000 new people that are going to be coming to work along this corridor, 6,000 in the next 2 years for one company alone. And that provides a significant amount of income for the state, which in my county, which then gives it to your county. And, you know, we always have this battle about roads and bridges. I said it before, roads are subsidized, buses are subsidized, light rail is subsidized. And you can't make an argument that they're not. As I said before, just my little project, which is not a little project, 35W 494 corridor fix, is $250 million for less than a mile of road. So that's a pretty large subsidy. And, you know, we can't be so short-sighted. The Chamber of Commerce gets that we need to build these lines. The Chamber of Commerce gets that we need to build out transit in rural Minnesota and throughout the state. What we're doing here, members, is just really failing. You know, it's so short-sighted. It's using money that probably will not be there to use in years ahead. And to me, it's sad because our state, our businesses, our families, we deserve a transportation system that works for everybody, and that includes roads, that includes bridges, and that includes light rail, trains, and any other form of transportation. So, Mr. Speaker, I would urge members to vote no on this bill.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Pryor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. I want to continue some of the points that Representative Rosenthal was making. And one thing that he was bringing up and reminding us is that people actually make long-range plans. And usually government does too. And when I was out door knocking, when I was talking to my constituents, when I was talking to business owners and managers, what they told me repeatedly was the problem was getting good employees. And what was challenging about getting good employees was for them to get to work. Now, some of it was traffic. They didn't want to deal with the gridlock. Some of them needed transit to actually get around and get to a job. And so they were always struggling. And the businesses that had easy access to transit were doing well because people knew that they could depend on it. But if we're talking about expanding our economy and expanding business opportunities, you need to know you can get employees there. And employees need to know that they can get there, and not just for 2 years. If you're going to buy a house in the area you want to live and your job's not there, you need to know that that transit will be there more than 2 years. So if we just keep thinking every 2 years, maybe there'll be a transportation bill. Maybe we'll fund transit. People will say, maybe I should move to a different state. So members, I don't think this bill gets it done.
The member from Anoka, Representative Runbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. The conversation this afternoon, the presumption seems to be that we're not spending enough on transit. And I would beg to differ. We are spending way more on transit than we are spending on our metro highways. And I think most of us haven't seen the numbers, but if you look at the 10 years out projection, We're going to be spending $370 million a year for our metro highways, and we're going to be spending $1.1 billion a year on our metro transit system. We are spending 3 times more on metro transit than we are spending on metro highways, the 169s, the 494s, the Highway 10s, the 94s. If you've got constituents fuming because of the congestion, blame transit, and certainly blame light rail transit. We are living on faith-based assumptions that this is good for relieving congestion. It is not. It is not. The numbers that it carries are trivial, absolutely trivial. We are looking at 6% of all daily trips are carried via transit. And of that, of course, light rail is an even smaller percent, 1.1%. Transit ridership has declined since 1980 from 10% to 6%. There is less usage of transit because, hey, we actually have a pretty darn good highway system in the metro area. And also, our jobs are so finely spread across the metro that only a good bus system will work. We have decided to spend the public dollar absolutely wastefully. And that's because certainly there's federal money waiting. But we wouldn't be building this light rail system if it weren't for that federal money. So we took care of one problem in the bill. We're shifting the cost of operating transit to away from the state, but we're putting it on the metro. I don't think that that's really the way to go, particularly because the build out of the light rail system that's being proposed is $8 to $10 billion more, and that's just the initial investment. You're going to be paying 2/3 the cost of every ride for the subsidy, the passenger subsidy. That's on into perpetuity. Those numbers don't improve over time. That's the best you're going to get. A 2/3 subsidy for every darned ride. So the costs only mount. You're also going to be talking in 25 years about the total replacement of tracks, of stations, and of vehicles. So for just one line, Southwest Light Rail, let's talk about a $3 to $4 billion investment. Call it more like $4 to $5 billion. Really, to commute or to move 6,500 additional new-to-transit riders every day, 6,500, that's it. Those people are already fairly well served by the Southwest Transit bus that exists. So, members, somebody has sold us a pig in a poke. These costs are not sustainable. They are out of control. And they are going to permanently drain the public coffers. Once you put rail into the ground, even if it's a total failure, like the North Star Corridor, you're not going to rip it out. You can't. It is there forever. So the inflexibility of it is just an utter ridiculous situation. So we could go into a lot more detail, but it is not about mobility. The numbers are scant. We need good transit. We absolutely do. And we could have a fabulous bus system for 1/10, 1/3, 1/4 of the cost, far, far lower. And it's time to let the Met Council know we need to turn the corner. We need a really good transit system, but we cannot go forward with what they have proposed, 10 or 11 or 12 more corridors at the same $1 billion an average cost. Southwest Light Rail is $142 million a mile to build. So it's time to get real, members. Don't believe the fictions that are being sold by the transit industrial complex. They are well funded. They are all over this Capitol. We can't get away from them. But they aren't facing facts, and they don't really care. Because you know why? There's a lot of money that flows, okay? Through all of those builders and engineering firms and the advocacy groups. So we got to get this right. We're at a crossroads, and I think we know the actuals now. We've seen Hiawatha and we've seen Green Line, so we've got actuals to compare with. It's time to just move on and get to the next phase of transit. Thank you.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Well, this is the third time now that we've done this bill. It was very bad the first time, it was bad the second time, and unfortunately, third time is not a charm. This is another bad transportation bill, and I'd urge a no vote. And I will just summarize a couple of the key arguments against this bill. We've heard from some of our members, and I want to reiterate, using general fund for this purpose is ill-advised. We know that there are important priorities that compete with the general fund, nursing homes, schools, so many of our healthcare initiatives, mental health, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we're now doing is, instead of funding roads and bridges through a constitutionally dedicated way, we are shifting towards the general fund. And I think it's been exaggerated, the degree to which this is just something that's typically done in other states. It's really not. You know, we have many states that use a little bit of general fund, but not to the degree that we are now doing. This is a wholesale change in how Minnesota funds its roads and bridges. And you know, the claim that recent trends indicate that we're going towards general fund, you know, Minnesota would be spending 3 times higher than those states. And when we see what happened in Wisconsin next door to us, they went to this general fund model, and the first time there was a deficit, they scooped up that money and used it for other purposes. And there was such an uproar that they went towards constitutional dedication. So why don't we look at what other states? We had I want to review what Representative Petersburg and I had a lively discussion about this during the first conversation about the transportation bill here on the floor. But I'll remind you that the red states of Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota went towards a dedicated funding system just over the last year or two. That's the trend, members, not what we're doing here. So we're going against the national trend, and we're going against even a Republican trend that is in favor of constitutionally dedicated sources of revenue for roads and bridges. So on that basis alone, we should be voting no. Secondly, I do want to emphasize again how problematic this is for public transportation. And while we hear a lot of rhetoric about rail, and I share, we had earlier today, I shared some of those concerns that I have about co-location and this liability issue. But while we hear a lot about rail, it's the local bus service that's being eviscerated in this bill. In the second half, in 2020 and 2021, we zero out the bus system. That will leave a $100 million shortfall in Metro Transit in just 2 short years. And what that will mean is a roughly 1/3 reduction in local route bus service. And I want to emphasize, bus ridership is increasing. It's close to record levels. It's not decreasing. 40% of the commuters that use transit to get to downtown Minneapolis, that number is going up. And of course, if you've been in downtown, you see the congestion. Transit does relieve congestion. Transit is a benefit. When we cut transit by 1/3, as that's envisioned in the final 2 years of this funding cycle that this bill covers, it's going to be students and people who have no other options to get to work that will be affected. It will be senior citizens. This will put pressure on metro mobility, because when the local route bus service shrinks, then those folks that are taking those local buses are going to have to rely on metro mobility, which is also which will be forced to make cuts under this bill. So we have the problematic funding source. We have deep cuts to regular route bus service in this bill. And it's woefully inadequate in terms of rail safety. I know that many folks on both sides of the aisle are concerned about this. We have the liability issue. On that basis alone, we should vote no on this bill. But what we've had happen in this session on rail safety is very, very problematic. In the public safety bill at one time extended the assessment that we put on railroads for safety to help our local first responders and others with safety issues. That's no longer there. We have this liability question. We don't even have new rail inspectors. So many of you on the other side of the aisle were so upset about rail safety when we discussed the pipeline issue, and we don't even have money for track inspectors. And of course, we have less track inspectors per capita for the amount of track that we have as compared to many surrounding states. So I've outlined just 3 of many, many reasons why a no vote would be the responsible vote on this bill. We have really squandered a missed opportunity to invest in our roads and bridges and our public transportation systems. This bill really takes us backwards. We are going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to locating businesses, when it comes to getting products to market, when it comes to attracting millennials and others in the workforce that make decisions based on where they want to live on the availability of public transportation. So for those reasons and more, I ask for a no vote.
I call upon the author of the bill, the member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members, for a robust discussion of the transportation bill. I would love to take the time to answer every one of your arguments. I'd be thrilled to do that, but I'm not so sure that my colleagues would be thrilled with me if I did. So I'm going to limit my remarks this afternoon. We have other work ahead of us and important work. I know that this large spreadsheet was handed out to all of you. If you're interested, please take a look at it and look on line 41, the percent of constitutionally dedicated funds utilized for transportation. You'll see in the last 5 bienniums that that average has been right around 93, 92%. And if you look to the last column, a couple of lines down on line 43, you'll see that under this proposal, the amount of constitutionally dedicated funds going to transportation is 88%. You've kind of made it sound like we're abandoning the constitutionally dedicated funds that we utilize today. We're not doing that. We are incorporating some general fund revenues into transportation because transportation is a priority just like every other budget area is a priority. I get the feeling that my colleagues over on the other side of the aisle just think that if we can just find a lever to get these guys to raise taxes some more, then we'll be happy. Representative Johnson, you described yourself as a conservative. Maybe your seat location is good. My colleague, Representative Heitzman, used to sit next to me over here. I trained him. I must have trained him extremely well if he's able to actually turn you into conservative. But I'm afraid, Representative Johnson, that it might be the old wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm sorry to accuse you of that, and we're good friends. We get along. But at the bottom of that same sheet, just look at the bar chart. Look at the increase in spending this year, or this coming biennium, that is instigated by this bill. It is significant, it is important, and it's not just roads and bridges, it's transit, it's buses, it's airports. It's the passenger rail office. It's a helicopter for the state patrol. It's all important stuff. As far as the next biennium goes, folks have been making it sound like we're going to fall off a cliff. When I look at the total spending in this biennium, we mentioned the number of $6.468 billion. The next biennium is $6.381 billion. The percentage difference in that I haven't calculated, but I would guess it's probably, I know it's under 1%. And if revenues increase, then that 1% drop won't even happen. There is a lot of change around transit here in the metro area. I'm sure many of you are aware of the CTIB organization that is on the verge of disbanding. That is going to change how transit is addressed in the metropolitan area. So I think it's absolutely appropriate that we hold off on our decisions around transit funding until that dissolution has occurred, and then we can go ahead and address those changes. It's been mentioned that somehow we are out of line by utilizing some general fund for transportation funding. There are 33 states and Washington, D.C. all utilize general fund for portions of their transportation funding. We are not outliers. We are right in line. The sources that we're using are sales taxes that are generated by auto-related expenditures. It seems like a good match. And while we haven't made a decision to constitutionally dedicate those, that is another conversation that we should have. And I would welcome that conversation to put that on the ballot someday, where we would actually constitutionally dedicate these sales tax revenues to transportation, because I believe it would be appropriate. Members, by voting green on this bill, you are voting for the largest transportation project package funding in the history of the state of Minnesota. You are funding everything from a township road to helping the metropolitan airports and transit system. This is a good bill. It's well balanced. There's needs everywhere. Everyone wants more money. Transportation funding is hard to balance out. I've had a challenge doing that, but I've done my best to address all areas of transportation funding. Really, I've done my best to make sure that nobody is oversatisfied, that everyone is a little bit disappointed, because there just aren't the resources to make any one of these transportation areas completely happy. With that, members, I ask for your green vote. Vote for roads, bridges, trains, and planes, and let's get this state moving. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members.
There being no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Allen votes no. Howe votes aye. Clerk will close the roll. There being 74 ayes and 54 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Mr. Speaker. I hereby announce the adoption by the Senate of the following Senate concurrent resolution herewith transmitted. Senate concurrent resolution number 1, a Senate concurrent resolution relating to adjournment for more than 3 days. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. The concurrent resolution is being referred to the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Representative Pepin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move a recess to the call of the chair for approximately 5 minutes. Rules Committee, we will meet immediately following recess in room 120 of the Capitol.
Discussion. Seeing none, Pepin moves a recess to the call of the chair for approximately 5 minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. House stands in recess.